Hello, nerds! Thank you for joining me here on Nerd News Clips. This is the second channel. This is the place for all of the short-form content as well as the individual sections and just generally speaking smaller things. If you are into the longer form content, youtube.com/generallynerdy is the place to go see that. With that out of the way, let's get into this. Oh, it's TV streaming time. Let's get into the TV streaming news. It's a pretty solid episode, not gonna lie. All right, so follow-ups and corrections. First and foremost, we have confirmation for a rumor that was kind of only a rumor in name because we already kind of knew this was gonna happen. That is, Penguin, the HBO Max series, is 100% happening. DC just ordered it 2 full series, though we don't know exactly how many episodes that is. We do know we're going to get it. We're going to get Colin Farrell as the Penguin for an entire series, and we also know that it is a continuation. It is not a prequel. So the previous reports of it being a prequel are not correct. It is a continuation of the Matt Reeves Batman movie. Next, we have Dune Sisterhood casting announcement. Indira Varma, I really hope I'm saying her name correctly because it's pretty simple letters on the page. She has been cast as Emperor Carino's wife, Empress Natalia. You will recognize this actress. She was in Game of Thrones. She played the Lord of Snake's sister. She was also in Obi-Wan. I don't remember her in Obi-Wan, but that's because I was too busy being grumpy at Obi-Wan. But also, she was in Carnival Row, and I totally remember in Carnival Row. Carnival Row is a fantastic little series over on Amazon Prime. Season 2 should be happening sometime soon, I hope. But either way, she's been cast in Dune Sisterhood for HBO Max. Super stoked for that. That's how we got. Let's move on. Next, we're talking about Percy Jackson. Another casting announcement. We got Edge from the WWE. That's right, wrestler Edge has been cast as Ares for the Disney Plus series. There were 2 other casting announcements alongside this. If you want to see exactly who they are, because I didn't know who they were, didn't recognize the names, you can follow the link down in the description. That is what we have for follow-ups though, so let's talk trailers, shall we? If you are a fan of Taylor Sheridan, and a lot of you are because Yellowstone is the biggest show on broadcast or on terrestrial television right now, has been for about 2 seasons now. So yeah, Taylor Sheridan has a new series starring freaking Sylvester Stallone. Come on, how much more names do we have to drop to make you interested in this? There's a new trailer. You should go watch it because Sylvester Stallone is a mob boss who is relocated to Oklahoma. So like cowboys and the mob, and I mean, go watch. That's awesome. That's awesome. Next in trailers, we're talking, oh man, the devil has returned. Teletubbies on Netflix has finally dropped a new trailer. If you are like me and were super weirded out by the original run of the Teletubbies, this is worse. They now have like baby Teletubbies, and I don't even remember the word because it's just gibberish, but like, oh, it's creepy. It's creepy. I don't understand. Okay, so here's the question about the Teletubbies. So I watched the Barney documentary on Peacock about, you know, how people hated Barney because Barney was too pure and there was nothing wrong with Barney. If people hated Barney to that degree, how do they not also hate the Teletubbies? Like, oh, because Barney, like, it almost makes sense because he's interacting with humans and he's like talking in sentences and like giving you morals and things. But the Teletubbies speak one word at a time and don't really interact with anyone but each other. And it's just, I'm confused. But there's a new trailer. If you're interested, if you got kids, that kind of thing, that's for you. We're gonna move right along. Next, we got finally a proper trailer for Trigun Stampede. Super stoked about this. It is going to Crunchyroll. It will come out in January as part of the Crunchyroll winter anime run. I'm super stoked about it because up until this point, we didn't know exactly where it was going, and now we know exactly where it's going and almost exactly when. So super stoked on that. Vash the Stampede, one of my favorite anime characters of all time. So we get an update to that. You should go watch that trailer. Let's move right along. Next, we're into regular ass news for TV streaming, and starting things off, we have a weird one. Gangs of New York is getting a series. That's right, the Martin Scorsese film that was based on the Herbert Asbury book is getting a series that is going to be produced, though probably not showrun nor directed, but produced at the very least by Martin Scorsese himself in association with Miramax Entertainment. Okay. I mean, I dug Gangs in New York just fine because Martin Scorsese, I don't think has ever made a bad movie, but he's made questionable, and I feel like that's about as questionable as a Scorsese flick gets. But how is the story going to be elevated by making it into a series? It sounds like it's going to be a limited run series or a mini series, if you will. So probably roughly 6 episodes, and that is where it's going to end. I didn't read the book, so I have no idea what else they can add to the story, but it was a 3-hour movie, so that's half of your series already. What else is there to... whatever. We're just talking about the news. Let's move right along, shall we? Next, we're talking about Warner Brothers Discovery. This is kind of huge. So, Warner Bros. Discovery, the merger happened. In that merger, the company, the new entity that was once Discovery Plus, that absorbed or effectively purchased the Warner Brothers, most of Warner Brothers properties and became Warner Bros. Discovery. There was $3.2 billion in loss when this merger happened. I don't know exactly how they lost that much money, but that is the report, that they lost $3.2 billion. So now David Zaslav, CEO of this new said company, is taking it upon himself to save $3 billion of the $3.2 that they lost so they can, recoup some of those losses. And in so doing, we've gone through a number of house cleanings, I guess you could call it. And now we have another round of said house cleanings. There's actually, this is kind of twofold. So the first one is, we got a bunch of people over in the unscripted and animation departments, not specifically like animators or anything like that, though we'll get to that, but just general staff in those two departments has been decreased by approximately 24%, which equates to about 120 something jobs have been lost. 120 something jobs are no longer need to be filled because about 40 of those jobs were already vacant. They're just not going to fill them. And then the rest of them, you're like, here's your pink slip. Sorry, but kick rocks. So that's the first part of this. The second part of this is continuing along the animation side of things. Animation studios, specifically Cartoon Network animation studios, and even more specifically, it sounds like it's leaning a lot harder on the Adult Swim side of the Cartoon Network animation studios. These are all being absolved by and large into the Warner Brothers animation studios. Now, they were very specific to announce that in spite of this, in spite of them reducing their staff size for the animation studios, that does not mean that they're going to diminish their output. So the shows are not going to suffer, according to the official word. The shows are not going to suffer because of this reduction in staff, which, lends itself to reason to a certain degree because you have a lot of redundancy. You're effectively joining two different companies that do very similar things. So you're going to have a lot of overlap. And so you got to kind of clear that up if you want to become a profitable entity again. And Zaslav is doing that. He's getting rid of the overlap. He's cutting the fat, as they say. So while it does suck for these however many people overall, it makes a whole lot of sense. I think a lot of people are really trying to ring the doom and gloom bell about this, but there's no reason to just yet. There is a lot of rumors going around that because of all these layoffs, because Zaslav is going so gung-ho with all of this restructuring of the company and stuff, that he's just setting it up so he can sell it off again in about 2 or 3 years. And I feel like those rumors kind of fly in the face of some other rumors we're going to be talking about once we hit the rumor mill section. So I don't buy that necessarily, but there is a little bit of an argument to be made there. I don't think it's going to happen, but we'll get to that in the rumor mill. So yeah, Warner Brothers Discovery is shaking still. The dust has not settled. That's all we got on that. We will definitely be keeping tabs here. Let's move now into TV streaming suggestions. Your suggestion for the week is Hemlock Grove. Honestly, the first, I want to say it was just the first season. It might have been the first 2 seasons. Whatever the last season was, the last season was not great, but the first and potentially first 2 seasons were actually super interesting. And if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, that's why I'm suggesting you try and go watch it. Hemlock Grove is a horror series that was on Showtime that features Bill Skarsgard and Famke Janssen as 2 of the leads. It is an ensemble cast, so there are more than 2, but those are the 2 biggest names, and wow, are they big names. You have Pennywise and Jean Grey in a family together, in a series together, no less. If you like vampires and werewolves and that kind of thing, you'll have an appreciation for Hemlock Grove. Go check it out. So, now, once again, this has been just a brief segment from the larger episode that has been posted over on the main channel, youtube.com/generallynerdy. Go over there for the long form content, or just subscribe here if you want it in bite-sized chunks. Thank you very much for joining me, nerds. We'll see you in the next one. Before we go though, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.